let me finish.
Okay, well, I thought I had, but go ahead.
Okay, y'all, let's take turns and let each other finish.
Welcome to Let Me Finish, the podcast where three minds give their unfiltered and sometimes unpopular opinions on all the craziness going on in our lives and in this world. We're your hosts, Jillian,
Janice.
And Michael.
Settle in and let's take a deep dive.
Okay, we are back with another episode of Let Me Finish. I actually think this is episode 90.
Oh, I have to go back and look.
Yeah, I think we're actually edging close to 100.
I think it's either 89 or 90.
Yeah, I think the last time I looked, it was 89.
Hold on, let me double
And that was 2 weeks ago since we missed last week. Missed you guys last week. Sorry about that. But I'm one of your hosts, Janice.
I'm Jillian.
So we're just checking out so we can see how long we've been partying with you guys and how long we've been doing this thing called a podcast. But Jillian's still looking.
Hold on. Let me see.
Anyway.
I have to go look at the last episode. Hold on.
Okay.
Last episode we did was Sinners. That was episode 89. You're right. So this is episode 90.
Episode 90, guys. So 10 more episodes. By the end of the year, we'll be hitting 100. So
yeah.
Again, thank you for rocking with us if you have been rocking with us since the beginning. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we'll get right into our weeks. How was your week, Joe? Or 2 weeks, last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been pretty chill. I've been hanging out at home and I've been, the new Hunger Games book came out. Sunrise on the Reaping.
This is Haymitch's story,
which is based on Haymitch's story. So I've been.
Is it good so far?
It's very good so far. So I am catching up on that, and then
he was 14 when that was 5.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they've already begun to cast the characters for.
Oh, they're gonna make it a movie too.
They're gonna make it a movie, and I think, like I said, they've cast a majority of the cast already, and then they will have. They're aiming for December of next year for the movie to come out. So they're clipping along. Then also, let me see here. And then I watch A Simple Favor 2.
I watched that, me and Ashley, yesterday, both of them.
Okay, so A Simple Favor 1 I really liked. It was like, I never saw it in the movie theaters. It was one of those things. It was on streaming. I think it was Netflix, and I said, let me check this out real quick, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I really liked it down to the end. But then with Simple Favor 2, I felt like you guys are just trying to recreate the magic that was the first one.
I thought it was cute. I mean, it was good. Anytime they try to like make another,
I don't think it was necessary, I guess is what I'm saying.
They never are.
Yeah, I think this one I was just like, because I was confused, because anyone who hasn't seen The Simple Favor 1, it's been a few years. Too bad, tough titties. Blake Lively's character went to jail. I'm just like, so how is she back getting married? And 2, if she's supposed to be in jail, and so for murder.
But she's supposed to serve like 20 years, right?
At least
20 something years.
Yeah, because they did the exposition. They'd be like, oh, this is what happened, and I just felt like. So the second one,
pretty early on in the movie, girl, I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? Girl, and then brother fucker. I said, oh my God.
Yeah, that
and
was
then
a
later
bit much.
in the movie, when I was like, wait, is that the daddy? Oh my girl, I was like, Ashley, wait. It's that what? Huh? Girl, I was like, and then what did Ashley say? Half brother. I was like, girl, brother. Forget. Stop saying half. It doesn't matter. Stop.
They share a parent genetically.
That's why I was like, why do you keep emphasizing half? That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that does not matter. Oh my God. So all I know is I felt it was like a funny thing in the movie, but I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
It comes back a lot. But
I think for me, I'm desensitized to that since I am deep in Game of Thrones lore. So yeah.
What?
Relatives being romantically involved.
Is it a lore?
you've seen the first Game of Thrones, right? Did I say
that was the story. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. In Games of Thrones, now they're full on brother and sister, and
they're twins.
And they're just tearing each other. It's horrible.
Well, in the spinoff House of Dragon, it's uncle and niece.
That's disgusting, bro. Like,
and
why?
So now I'm gonna say it. I'm just like, okay, that's okay. That's
laughing at me. I was like, no way. She found out. No.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it's a little bit much.
Girl, shocking. I was
but yeah,
probably the one thing that stuck out for me most in the movie. I was like, wait, what?
I try and catch amnesia for that particular
I feel like it was so
line.
unnecessary. They could have thought of so many other things that they could have used as like this callback.
Yeah, it could have been their
why can't this be step? Right,
yeah.
Thank you. I was like, why?
Yeah, so at least they're not genetically related.
Yeah.
And still be a kind of a taboo secret that she could have held. Be revealing
and that's
to her.
what I said, because she tells Blake Lively's character so quick. I was like, that is a deep, dark secret you should take to your grave. And then you go and tell a stranger? Mm-hmm. Wild.
Yeah. But I think for me, what really did it for me for the It's a Simple Favor, the first one, was the twist at the end with everything that happened with, like I said, I'm not trying to ruin it completely for everyone.
She ended up having recording her or whatever, and she had,
Yeah, so just like it was like a couple twists at the end. I'm just like, oh wait, hold on, this is going a completely different direction than I thought I was going to go. So that's why I ended up really enjoying it. But then the second one, I just felt like they were trying to.
They definitely always are, though. Anytime those movies, like especially nowadays, like when a really good movie comes out and they immediately try to go make a number 2, it's always just them trying to tell the same story again in a different way. It's never new. It's never exciting. It's just
the same. Yeah.
It ends up being dumb and kind of takes away from the first one. It's never like, ooh, this elevated the whole entire experience. Meant to type thing.
Which I think this is what this was, and I mean it went straight to streaming, so yeah.
And like I said, the first one was definitely better. Mm-hmm. I will say that. Mm-hmm. We were out. We didn't record last week. I went out of town for work. Went to one of the conferences. Very, very good conference, and I feel like we got a lot out of it. My team did, so that's good.
A conference? What type of conference?
It was a sales conference. It was really like one of those associations. So like it's purchasing groups, and it's a whole bunch of purchasing groups that are members of this association, and then we go there as a processor and tell them we're preferred and try and get some sales off of it.
Okay, that's good.
So we did that. I was out of town pretty much all last week, and then we found out at work we're going to go fully remote. So I'll be working from home 100% of the time in like 2 weeks. So that's interesting. Not my favorite thing, but I feel like I might be the only person that's not happy about it. Maybe me and Lakin. I mean, but we work together, and so it's part of our hangout time too. So so I've been trying to like get my life together and get my house ready because right now I'm only in a 1-bedroom. So I had to find a spot for my desk, because in the new apartment I'm getting, it's a 2-bedroom, so I'll have an office. But right now I'm just like, it's going to be very cramped, but it's all good. I got that. I bought that furniture, or the desk, got that put together. Just with my friend yesterday, watched Simple Favor 1 and 2.
By the way, Ashley's baby, I'm just like, she needs to slow the hell down.
So big, right?
Because I'm just like, she posted pictures. She's like, oh, she's 3 months. I'm like, what?
You just had the baby.
You just had that baby. Slow down. She
is so cute. I was with Ashley yesterday, and so I got to spend time with Lennon, and she's so cute.
Very cute.
Oh my gosh, she's so big, and she's like holding up her head, and so cute watching her trying to hold up her little head. You can tell she's so proud. And she's just like, look, see?
Yeah.
She's so cute.
These kids grow up so fast.
I know.
And then our cousin, she graduated with her master's.
Yeah, so
from Pepperdine University. So shout out to Kiara.
I know.
She is definitely rocking it.
Congrats. I know, because
that's hard work.
That is, because more school after bachelor's is more school after high school is a lot. So
Yeah.
anybody who does that, kudos to you. Kudos to people who finish high school. I mean, shit's hard.
Yeah. It's all hard.
It's a lot, you know. So yeah, I think she's done now.
Yeah.
So she's not going to be a
she's
professional student.
Yeah, she said she's definitely done after the masters. But you know,
Which is funny for her because she said that she was, well, she's talked about it on her YouTube, but she's not a schoolgirly, and look at her.
Yeah.
Now.
She did it. She worked very hard for that, so I'm glad for her.
Shout out.
Yeah, because she graduated from Tech. What year was that? 2-3 years ago?
I mean, yeah, it should be 3.
So it was 4 years. What year?
COVID?
Honestly, I don't remember what year she graduated.
Dang. Wait.
It's been a couple of years. I can't remember.
Wait, it might be 4 years. I think it was 2020.
No. It definitely wasn't 2020.
Well, we went to Vegas to celebrate.
When did we go to Vegas the second time?
In 2020. It was the beginning of 2020.
It was 2021 because I know for a fact that I already had my vaccine because I wasn't going to go to Vegas without my vaccine.
Oh, you know what? I think it was after COVID. So 2021.
2021.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was just like, there was no way
So weird. Do you feel like if there's a time it's like before COVID, after COVID? I feel like that's how time split up.
You know what? We were just talking about it because, you know, we were talking about, it'd be kind of cool to experience like a music festival like Austin City Limits or Coachella. And I'm just like,
that's a bucket list of mine.
And I said,
Coachella.
You know what? Before COVID, I'm like, yeah, it sounds like fun. But now post COVID, I'm just like, I don't like big crowds.
I don't like big crowds because of COVID, though. I don't like big crowds because I feel like I'm just older and loud noises bother me now.
No, it's not even that because I'm just like, I think COVID, because we were so isolated for so long and, you know, we were always in small groups during COVID, that being around large groups of people, it kind of throws me off a little bit still.
Does it?
Because it was so long. I'm not saying I don't, just not saying that I hate people. It's just crowds of people and you're just, it kind of.
Yeah. I would say I was more social and more of a people person pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. Post-COVID, if that's a problem. That double tap.
Yeah.
Let's double tap on that.
Yeah. For future reference.
Double click.
We have to put a pin in that.
Let's open up that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So funny that we were talking about, I think I was just mentioning something relative to documentaries. Weren't we? Didn't we? A second ago?
No.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this week we wanted to talk about the lore, I guess, of
our obsession with
our
true crime.
obsession that most people have, I feel like, these days with true crime. Mm-hmm. And they just keep pumping out more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And the question is like, okay, is this good? Should we keep down this rabbit hole of obsessions with true crime? Mm-hmm. What's the consequence of that? You know, because with true crime, for me, it's like, it's so, especially the ones that are on TV, they're so outlandish and they're like, what the hell? And it becomes entertaining, but are we taking this as now entertainment and not taking it seriously or as seriously?
No. So I've always been I wouldn't say I'm obsessed now there's a couple ones that I have become obsessed with, where there's the Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, which I'm a big fan when it comes to financial crimes, anything to do with financial crimes. I'm a huge fan of those type of documentaries. So think Fire Festival.
I just watched the Fire Festival when
Hulu original documentary that I watched and was like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking interesting. It's called The Dropout, which was a documentary about Elizabeth Holmes, and she ran a blood processing company that ended up being a total scam. She was claiming that she would be able to run all these tests off of one drop of blood. And so, because people get nervous about having tubes and tubes and tubes of blood drawn to run whatever test. So if it's cholesterol, STD tests, all kinds of, cancer screening and all that stuff, she was claiming that she'd be able to do it with one drop of blood, and you would have access it quicker, and it's something that you could access yourself even without the doctor would order the test, but the results would go straight to you and you'd be able to see all your panels and all that stuff, yada yada yada. So that turned
they worked with doctors too.
That was the goal.
Okay.
And it turns out that the tech behind this particular testing, she was portraying it as further along in the research and the tech than it really was, and she was raising money based off, she was lying.
Yeah,
based,
to get more investors.
And it turns out that she really wasn't able to, and she got in trouble with the SEC, and she's actually doing time in jail right now. I think she got like 10 years in jail right now. So I read the documentary, I listened to the podcast, and they actually turned it into a miniseries on Hulu. So there's that aspect of it. So that really that's
Wes had several documentaries about him.
Yeah,
I only remember one.
There's ones on ID channel. There was Netflix. There's several, and then you're talking about now
and they're doing a movie.
They did a Lifetime. They've already done a Lifetime movie about that.
Yeah, I need to watch that, girl.
You're so silly.
Ooh, girl. Okay.
Yeah, and then right now they're like the Menendez brothers. They're
okay. So so I feel like Netflix has some type of series. If you actually notice, a lot of their documentaries now will be like, the American Dream, Chris Watts story. Then it's an American Murder, and then it's the American Couple, and I'm just like, it's like a series thing, but it's really good. And yeah, I would say it's now, because recently I've become very obsessed with watching documentaries again. And it's because they find them so interesting. But the problem is that once it catches me, I can become very, like, all I can think about and do research about is this particular story. And so I try not to do it too often. Right now I'm very into the social media murders, so it's basically like web-based murders, which can be scary. So the idea is like, does it desensitize me to it or make me hypervigilant? For me, I feel like it makes me a little hypervigilant.
Yeah.
I think for others, it desensitizes them. It makes them almost feel like, I see this all the time, this could never happen to me. Like even today, girl, like, why was I build me a black Tahoe? Was old, parked, never seen it before, just kind of looked like almost like a cop car, old cop car. And why did I be like, what's that?
Yeah,
somebody, let me see this car.
And I think a lot of,
and I've been peeping it all day, honey.
I think a lot of people, especially women, use the tree crime as a tool to be able to look for, like, okay, this happened to this person, I'll be on the lookout for that in case something happens to me, so I can avoid the same pitfalls as
especially
the
internet stuff.
Yeah. And I think also when it comes to, and how ethical these things are, because like I said, they're turning them into miniseries, movies and stuff like that right now.
So ultimately becoming celebrities.
Yeah. So they're becoming celebrities, with the resurgence of, I believe it was Netflix had the Dahmer miniseries.
Yeah.
So, and it's like
all these people who are already
the victims. Yeah. So now
it's like you put them back in the spotlight.
Yeah. So the victims, and then of course the families of the victims who died at his hand. They're like, hey, those are our loved ones that are the victim, and you're making it about him and not about our family members. And that has been reported many times. I believe Stacey actually turned us on this. There was a series with Jessica Biel called Candy. And I'm like, this is a real life. And this lady still supposedly killed this lady, and she's still walking around. She ended up getting found not guilty. And in her trial, she actually was from our area here in Dallas Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And we're just like, so this lady's just not killing. Tell me this lady got found not guilty, and he's just walking around and
probably made some residuals off that. movie too.
Who knows? And actually, that's that same story. What's her name? Elizabeth Olsen. She actually started in they actually, I think it was Max, HBO did their own version of that same story starring her. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, that's kind of shitty. So if that was, cause this lady was a wife and a mother, and just imagine her adult children seeing, you know, you click on, you know,
It's
Hulu,
like,
and you see the story of your mom's murder being portrayed, and the focus is not on your mom, it's on her killer. So I think
so part of me is like, okay, are we learning from some of those experiences though? Because for me, the reason why I become so obsessed with it is because I'm more like, why it's like trying to understand, not that I would be able to, but it's like you try to find every little thing you can to like figure out what made this person snap. Has it been in them the whole time? Was it a trigger? Was it a trauma? Was it childhood? What happened to them at a young age? Because, you know, people are made evil, not born evil, is what they say.
Right.
You know, so I think with those, for me, it's the curiosity of how do you get to that point of just being that evil.
yeah.
Depends.
Yeah.
Even like, okay, so there's this girl on Netflix. I forget what it's called. I feel like it's like the worst, and cancer, and basically had this whole website and had people subscribing and saying that basically juicing and eating healthy.
Apple cider vinegar.
No, but people said that it's also that this story is based off of apple cider vinegar. Her name is Bia. I have to look it up. But I did hear apple cider vinegar is the next one I should watch, because I'm just like,
I actually just finished watching that this weekend.
Was it good?
It was good.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because apple cider vinegar, it's actually telling it's the story of two girls, but one is she actually had cancer and was telling people, hey, I'm able to heal myself through healthy eating, you know, all these, you know, juicing, cleansing and all that stuff. And I don't want to ruin anything for you, but I think in a way, and then the other lady, she was faking her cancer treatment and saying, hey, I actually cured myself the same way, and just seeing both their platforms kind of elevate, and just in a way at the end, both of them were lying to themselves in regards to this particular cure and being non-conventional cure for cancer. And so, and it's just interesting. So if you want to, it's on Netflix. It's called Apple Cider Vinegar. It's actually very interesting. And I think towards the end, I'm just like, oh, so they're both like in the end just lying to themselves and lying to the public.
So it's Belle Gibson.
Yes.
The search for Instagram's worst con artist. Story of millions of followers by claiming she cured her terminal cancer through wellness and healthy eating.
Yeah.
And she was selling subscriptions and things to this juicing.
Yeah.
Is it the same person in apple cider vinegar?
In apple cider vinegar, the girl's name is Belle Gibson.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think they made a series about her
and what she did.
It's crazy when you listen to her. She's such a liar. She lied. It's crazy. And even when she did an interview and they asked her how old she is, she was just like, I've always known myself to be 26. Bitch, how old are you? What the fuck? And she's like, it's a simple question. She's like, do you think you're a pathological liar? No, because the things I'm saying is true to me. Oh God, this girl's such a. So yeah, I don't know what it was. So that one got me. There's one called, like, somebody told me to watch something about a vegan. I forget what it was. But it's like a vegan shop or something, but it's also on Netflix, and it's similar.
Yes, I've seen that one too. It's where she, yes, very similar. Where
she told me I need to watch that one too.
A vegan restaurant.
Yes.
But she was scamming. Yeah, she was a scammer too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's
New
the
York.
scammers. Yes. Yeah. There's the scammers. You know, so
exactly.
Once like that, it's like, I feel like those stories need to be out there so people don't get scammed. So it's like, yes, you are putting her in this light, but it's also showing people like, hey, watch out for these people. Don't be believing everything you see on the internet, because everything you see on the internet is not true. So I do think ones like that. I think ones about like Gabriel Hernandez and, you know, children being abused or taken advantage of. I think those also trial hard. Like even his whole documentary, it just goes to show you, for me, the takeaway from that is the system failed him. We shouldn't be failing our children.
Right.
We should have like Dear Zachary. I feel like those documentaries are to educate people more so than just as a clickbait almost.
Yeah. But I think with I don't know about the Gabriel Hernandez and his situation, where Dear Zachary, it's told from the loved ones of the actual victims. It's not told, like I said, the documentary was done by one of the victim's best friends, and so they're telling it from their perspective and they have control. So I think when it comes to the ethics, is that who is controlling the narrative? I think that's very important, of who's controlling the narrative. Is it,
well, that's to go to say that basically if it's not the family members, it shouldn't be done.
Not saying that, but
they should be involved.
I think, yes, the family definitely needs to be involved, because I think it's very important that the victims, their stories be told correctly. And then we get to know the victims, and that their stories are not lost in the shuffle of what,
don't you think
this killer, and trying to figure out why they did what they did.
Don't you think that's why it's important that, I feel like that's also why it's important that the families do get it, because these films are going to get made regardless. So I think it would be important. Like if something like that happened to me, I would want to make sure I spoke for my family member. I would want to make sure that I advocated for them. And I wouldn't just be like, no, I don't want to. And then it's going to happen anyways.
You're right.
This is
open for,
consumption, really.
For interpretation and dissemination and for the public. So I mean, it sucks, but I'm just like, I feel like there has to be an ethical, and when we are consuming these things, because we're so obsessed with it, because we consume so much, the more we consume, the more they're going to produce, because they know, hey, we're going to get eyes on the screen if we push out this content. So we as consumers, we control what gets pushed out to us based on how we vote with our remote. I truly do believe that. And so if you're, like I said, I'm guilty of it too. Like I said, my little niche is going to be financial crimes. So those are my favorite ones that I like to watch. So if I've seen probably every episode of American Greed, there's a shit ton of them. And it's
mine's
harder,
killers for sure.
Yeah, and it's harder for me because I started the Dahmer series on Netflix, and I just couldn't finish it because I'm just like, it's too much. I think I maybe got halfway through, and I'm just like, I don't think I can do this anymore, because of just how it got uncomfortable.
The whole story is uncomfortable and gross.
Yeah, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think I mean, when you start talking about eating people and doing, that's different. I think it's just a sick thing, But ultimately, they've glorified or, glamorized this story for a long time when it comes to Dahmer.
John Wayne Gacy. What's the other one that...
the good-looking one Ted Bundy. Mm-hmm. Like they glamorize those type of killers for sure. So I feel like they've told those stories over and over and over again. I was very interested, and I've never watched the Menendez brothers documentary, but I have heard quite a few people like that it does make you sympathize with the brothers and maybe see more of their side of the story. Mm-hmm. So it goes to show you like, okay, well, whoever made it, or were they more, you don't know. You still really don't know though.
Yeah, but I think also that time causes us to, when there's like distance and we're not as emotionally involved in the situation, maybe you like I said, I think when it comes to, we talk about OJ, and I think when we were in the middle of it, it was so not saying it's still not racially charged, but I think it was
Very
more
still racially charged.
very racially charged, and we were more emotional when it happened. But now that we've had, I mean, decades later, to the point where the kids are grown, and O.J. Simpson passed away last year, I think the more distance that we get from this, not saying that it's still not racially charged, but I think we're able to have more.
I would
be more analytical, and
I would say when it
and
comes
less emotional
to
about
O.J.
our-
Simpson, I don't think it will ever change from being emotionally, like, racially charged. Nobody.
No, I'm
if
not-
you actually talk to people who think he didn't do it or he did do it, it says he did it. I know he did it, or
Yeah.
I know he did it. I
Yeah.
just know he did it.
And here's the thing: I'm
So,
not saying
like,
that
it's
it was
so emotional. It's so, especially during that time, it's all tied back to that time. The fact that she was a white woman, the fact that he was a black woman or black man. The fact
was
that
in
he
LA.
that he was a famous black man at that he had so many, like, high profile people he knew. Like, there's nothing about O.J. Simpson, that whole entire case with Nicole. It's all so racially driven. I feel like that's only racially driven.
No, well,
almost.
I'm not saying that it's not still racially driven. I'm just saying that I guess there's a difference between, especially now because there's been so many decades, there's a difference between somebody who lived through the OJ trial and was able to experience it firsthand versus someone who was born later and maybe didn't experience it. Their analysis may be a little different, so maybe a different set of eyes comes towards it. I feel like it's the same way about September 11th. Like, you have people who are adults and they'll be like, what was that like? And we're just like, man, it wasn't that long ago.
There's going to be people that it doesn't matter
early-
what evidence is shown to them. He did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of times these people didn't even watch a court case. They've never looked up any real information. It's just, he did it.
Yeah. And honestly, what did he do it? I would say 50-50. I'll just say this. I cannot say 100%. There is reasonable doubt. So the guilt, I feel like the verdict was correct. Does that mean that he's innocent? There's a difference between not guilty
Based off of the
and
court of law, he's innocent. Yeah.
Based off court of law, he's not guilty, which means that there wasn't enough evidence to send him to jail for the rest of his life.
Wait, I thought when it came to a court case, either you're guilty or innocent when it comes to the court of law.
No, it's guilty or not guilty. Innocence means you did it or didn't do it. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
There's plenty of people who are
okay.
innocent and get found guilty and go to jail, and there's people who are
in the court of
are
law,
not innocent and get found not guilty and go free. So
sure, because it was incorrect. That was just what happened.
Right.
But in the court of law, isn't the ultimate thought that if you're found not guilty, you did not do it?
No.
In the court of law?
Not guilty simply means there wasn't evidence. There was sufficient evidence to prove beyond.
You can't prove them
beyond a reasonable doubt.
Because you have to prove them guilty.
Right.
Right. So I'm just like, if you can't prove I guess if you can't prove I'm guilty, doesn't mean I'm innocent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just say in the court of law, I feel like that's how they look at it. But maybe not.
Yeah. So I feel like when there's time, like I said, and I think September 11th is one of those times where now that it's been 24 years since that day, what I felt about what happened and the actions that we took after was way different. How I felt versus what I feel now that I have better scope of everything.
You don't think we should have gone to war?
I think that maybe I feel like Afghanistan, now how we handled Afghanistan.
I don't know if we should have continued to be in war, but I feel like at that point we had to go to war.
At that time, I felt, yes, this was justified. So Afghanistan, I think that was still justified, but how we handled it, I think we handled it poorly.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think we properly we didn't understand what we were getting into fully. And then on top of that, when we didn't understand fully what we were doing in Afghanistan to make things worse, we decided to go into Iraq. That was totally wrong. 100%, we should never have gone into Iraq. I feel like now that we come to find out that
it was
the evidence was there was
Cheney.
Cheney with the weapons of mass destruction. That was all a lie. So we should never have been there
Yeah.
in the first place.
But sadly, that's what happens once war starts breaking out. It's like people
You're in a fog.
Yeah, people don't. Yeah, it's very dangerous.
And then
place to be.
the anti-Muslim rhetoric, where innocent people were the anti-Muslim
So what I will say,
kicked up, and
based off of what you're saying, it does kind of seem like documentaries, and we can kind of go towards our final thoughts on this, but it does seem to me that documentaries, because documentaries are made from somebody's perspective, but it's not always based only in fact. I mean, there are facts in documentaries. That's the whole point. But it's still like, if I think, like, for example, if I think OJ's guilty, my whole documentary is going to be about why I think he's guilty. Right. So, I mean, documentaries can be a bit dangerous when it talks about the consumption of, because you can't really control what their perspective is. And when you're looking at a documentary, you're looking at the scope of whoever is directing it, whoever's moving the story along. Exactly. So it can be dangerous as well. But I do think documentaries are important for gaining more information, because I don't think there's a lot of people who will watch who will watch documentaries who don't watch the news. So that can be even more dangerous.
So, and also because sometimes with the documentaries, we see them and we take them as gospel, and turns out it's
we don't
not.
Do no research.
And in fact, a really good example of that, anyone who's seen the documentary Super Size Me, with the guy that decided to eat McDonald's for, was it 30 days straight?
They said that
and turns out he was a full-blown alcoholic, and those numbers that he was getting was not due to the McDonald's, but it was actually because of his alcoholism. And he was still actively, consuming massive amounts of alcohol, and those panels that people were getting, because people could not reproduce the numbers that he was getting in the documentary, and it turns out it's because of the alcohol. And so you're thinking,
so do you think he's been having those same readings without eating McDonald's though, even though he was an alcoholic? So was he always on that path?
He did not. I think what made it dishonest is because he didn't disclose that he was an alcoholic. So when people recreate the study by eating, making it feel like McDonald's is this evil place, to the point where McDonald's did change it, where they do not ask you, would you like to supersize that? They don't do that anymore. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, trying to get people
to eat
healthier, but it's to make you seem like this evil thing that it's going to kill you if you eat McDonald's a couple times a month.
And it was based off of the scope of the person doing the documentary, and that was the narrative he was trying to show you, and he was saying, this is why what I'm saying is true. Look at me, look at what I'm doing. But again, you don't know the production behind it,
right? So we definitely do have to be careful when it comes to these documentaries. We can't always take it as gospel, because there are flawed people who are presenting the story, and so you got to take it with a grain of salt. And at the end of the day, we are all human. I don't want to say I want to make these bad people famous or anything like that, but these are stories that we find interesting and want to hear, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think we have to be careful as far as who's portraying the story, what are their motivation, and also being cognizant of not only the perpetrator of the crime but also the victims.
Understand that it is like for entertainment, not to replace your news outlet. And I think that's sometimes where we get a little lost, is when we try to replace like knowing about what happened, like Gabriel Hernandez. Like, if you like to know what the true facts of that case, you would probably want to go and do your own research about it. Look at to the foundations and things that have been made because of this situation. But and then they'll probably have more things based in fact, because again, there might be fact elements in documentaries, but they're not 100% true. They're not, and again, just be cognizant of what you're consuming. researching the information after the fact and not just going around and saying this is fact because I saw it on this documentary.
Yeah.
And I think we all should do that with a lot of the things that we consume, because at the end of the day, you know, I fact check facts. I mean, double check, you know, just make sure, like, even if I see it here, I try to see if I can find it in other places too.
Yeah. From reliable sources.
Be like,
Not
Twitter.
Now, please don't say I saw it on YouTube. I saw it on Facebook. That Facebook and YouTube are not reliable sources.
So I will say, yeah, because nowadays, if I see it on Facebook, I straight up, I always, hey, if I don't ask Julian or Stacey, like, hey, is this real?
Yeah.
I'll go Google it, because I'm like, I need to know, like, because, yeah, I am like the clickbait person, like, what?
Yeah.
Say what?
It's funny because I guess this is news for today. We're recording on a Monday that Tory Lanez actually got stabbed in jail today. And I was trying to say, is this for real?
Yeah, you got to double check.
TMZ was reporting. I was just like, is this for real? For real?
You always got to double check.
A couple other news organization reported it too. So I'm still kind of like, is this real or not real? Supposedly he was rushed to a hospital and is in critical condition.
I tell you one place that I believe they fact check. Julian says they don't, but I know they do. E-News. E-News always fact checks.
Okay, so
they do fact check.
I do. I'll go check on E-News. But
yeah, they fact check. So typically I'll see stuff, and then until I see it on E-News, it's not fact.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, nah, E-News would have covered this.
Yeah.
Okay. And a couple times it was untrue, and I was like, see, E-News didn't report it. That's how I knew it was a lie.
Okay, there you go. But yeah. So yeah, I think documentaries, they have their place. I think
definitely have
there
their
could
place.
be very useful information, but it's one of those things where maybe our obsession would kind of taper that down. And
taper it down to not just entertainment, but actually take away from it. Like, again, like, it is for entertainment, but if you're going to go around and call it out and bring it to people's attention, just try and check some facts on it first.
Yeah,
is all I would say. And know that everything you see is not true.
Yeah, and actually, just since you said E-News has reported that he was stabbed in prison.
That is true, girl. There you go. Yes, honey.
Yeah,
all right, y'all.
Stabbed.
So yeah, so we're gonna get out of here. Love talking to you guys about one of our loves, which is documentaries, and yeah, go check it out. We talked about the Instagram, the worst Instagram con artist. That was a good one. Go watch it. Quite a few others, but if you guys want to know about other documentaries we've watched, let us know. We'll love to tell you guys.
Yeah, I'll probably
we'll link a few.
Yeah, like put it in the show notes.
The ones we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll get out of here. Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on the latest episode of Let Me Finish. Thank you guys for joining us for another week and listening to the latest episode. Don't forget, go like, share, and subscribe on your favorite platforms. And you guys can also follow us and see us on different platforms. I am on Instagram, and that's going to be Uniquely Janice. And then I'll also be on TikTok, Janice H, GENICEH. Michael, where can they find you?
I'm only on Instagram, and it's Kasra Salimi. And by Kasra Salimi, I mean Kasra Writes, because I changed it and I just forgot. So it's KASRA Writes, WRITES.
Yes. Jillian, where can we find you?
Instagram as well, and it's New Jillian Who Dis.
New Jillian Who Dis. All right, well, we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.